Hey there, hello, thank you for joining me. Coach Chris, sitting here in the Critical Bench compound, and I am sharing with you today, as you can tell by the title of this video, the best ways to win friends and influence people. And these I cannot take credit for. These are from a book, a very famous book, by one Dale Carnegie, written about 80 years ago in the 1930s. Dale Carnegie, if you don't know who he was, he's an extremely successful, extremely wealthy, and extremely wise man. And his book today is as beneficial and as on point as anything written in the last few years. So this is a book I highly recommend. And these are 6, and I have some cheater notes here with me because these are 6 of the biggest takeaways for me from the book. And this is one of those books that's probably for someone who really got a lot out of it, which I can't imagine anybody who wants to be better in business and in relationships wouldn't like this book. But this is like something you would want to reread even every few years, every 5 years, just because the points in it are so great. And we need to be reminded often of the things that successful people do, and the way they think, and the way they act, and all those things. So number 1 is, say, I'm a talker. So the number 1 takeaway for me is to be a better listener. If you want to strengthen a relationship with someone, whether that be your spouse, whether that be a coworker, a boss, a friend, anybody, if you're a better listener, you will get. They will. It works both ways. You become a sounding board for them, right? And if you're making eye contact, you're not distracted by your phone, you're not paying attention to something else. If you're looking right at them and you're listening to them, they feel that from you. They feel important. So you instantly make them feel important, and that you care about their story, what they have to share with you. And right off the bat, that's going to go a really long way. And me being a talker and not so much a great listener, it's almost not necessarily hard for me to hear, because I know I'm a talker, but it just makes it that much more obvious to me. I just need to do a better job of zipping my lip and listening to what people have to share with me. Number 2 is to see things from other people's perspective. We oftentimes, I'm guilty of this all the time. We think about ourselves, how we act in a certain situation, and then we see someone else and we say, well, why didn't they do this? Or why didn't they do that? They should have done this, they should have done that. And it's very hard for us to see things from someone else's perspective, to see life from their shoes. And we become judgmental, right? And that's like one of the worst things that we can be, is to be like judge people. We don't know what they're dealing with, what they're going through, what their history is like, what their relationships are like, how they grew up, how they live, the day to day. So seeing things from other people's perspective, which would help if we're better listeners, we can start to do that even better, right? So if we're listening to them, we get more of a feel for who they are, what they're doing, what they're dealing with, who this person truly is. We're gonna be better at seeing things from other people's perspective. So I thought that was great. So a better listener, seeing things from other people's perspective. Number 3, get interested in what other people like. And that doesn't mean that you have to love what they love or really like what they like, but know about it, learn about it, read about it, study it a little bit. If you're trying to build a relationship with somebody, find out what their interests are. And so when they're sharing that with you and you're doing your better job of listening to them, if they feel that you have like some type of interest in what they have interest in, maybe you don't like a certain sport at all, but you know the other person does, and you've actually spent a little bit of your time investigating or researching that, knowing a couple little things about it, and then when you have a conversation with them, you can show them that there's some interest on your part, or that you've explored that a little bit. That'll make it much more meaningful to them, and they'll, again, that sense of like, wow, they care about me. They're really listening to what I have to say. It'll go a long way when you show interest. You know, like in any relationship with a friend or a spouse, you know that they like to do a certain thing or go to a certain place, and if you you take them to those places, or even if it's not your favorite place but it's their favorite place, or you go to, like I said, a sporting event, or to a certain store, to a certain restaurant, whether it's your favorite or not, if you're showing them that you've heard that they told you that was one of their favorite things to do, or their favorite spots, then that's going to make them just feel that much more special, that you're interested. So number 4, this is one that you see quite a bit, in the world, and it's a frustrating one, I know, for a lot of people, is that no matter how wealthy or how successful you become, that you never stop being kind to others, to people. Don't lose yourself in what you've become and what you've created. And it can be really sad to see that. It can be sad to see people almost like lose their humanity as they maybe move up the ranks or move up the ladder, and that it's almost like they can't connect with people emotionally anymore because they're just on a different level. And that might be all well and good maybe when you're younger or something, but I'm too old now, in my 40s, to really care a hell of a lot about what other people think about me or say about me. I definitely want others to always feel that I have a genuine interest in them, or I care about them. I'm not too good for them. That I can't say thank you or you're welcome or whatever to somebody at the gas station or at the bank, or somebody I work with, or somebody at the grocery store. Don't be demeaning to somebody, whether they make $10 an hour and you make $100,000 a year or more. You're still both human beings. Be courteous, be nice, hold the door open, say please, say thank you, say you're welcome, make eye contact. Let people know that that you care a little bit, and that'll go a really long way. So like Dale Carnegie, who wrote this book, was known for this quality, and I think that's what really made people just love him, right? You love people that go out of their way to be extra nice to you, regardless of that they fly around in jets or they drive a $7,000 car. So number 5, I always thought this one was pretty funny. And again, this is my list, my takeaways from this book. Now there might be 20 other great nuggets out of this book, and I'm sure there are, but these are the ones I'm citing. The sweetest sound to people is their own name. I thought that was really cool. So you ever notice, like, when you are talking to somebody, if you know their name, or if someone's talking to you and they know your name, it 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 feels good to hear your name from someone else. I'm not talking somebody that you have a long history with. I'm talking about somebody maybe that you just started to establish a relationship with. And you know, when you first meet people, it's hard to remember their names. So you have to kind of repeat it over in your head, do some type of like, you know, memory thing where you like match that name so that you can't forget it. But when you lock in someone's name and use it in conversation to them, it has a lot of meaning, and people just love to hear that. So again, if you're fairly successful, but you learn the names of all those other people that you are around in a day-to-day setting, and maybe they're low on the totem pole, but you know, you let the person that's cleaning your office, know that you know who they are, and you use their name when you speak with them. Huge. And so I encourage you, if you're trying to establish better rapport, better relationships, a better reputation, know the names of the people that work for you, for your business, or for other people's businesses, because that'll go a really long way, and in very small ways that'll just help you in your desire to become a better person overall, a better human being, and win those friends and influence more people, right? And number 6 is, a lot of times people have a tendency to be quick to criticize and slow to praise, and really what you want to do is kind of the opposite. You want to be quick to praise people, and not saying you shouldn't criticize someone, but the best way to get the most out of people is to praise them for the things that they do well, and they're more likely to try harder in those other areas where maybe they're not as strong. And I might not, my recollection might not be right on point, but I think it's pretty close. I think there was a story shared in this book about a janitor in particular, who they were talking about, well, is this person even worth keeping? Do they do anything good? Is there anything good? They were on the fence of like keeping them or firing them. And they said, well, there is one thing that they do well. Okay, so let them know that they do that one thing. Even though there's a lot of things that they're not doing well, let them know they're doing that one thing really well. And so they did, and guess what happened? They started to feel more fulfilled or more important, more respected maybe. And so they started to actually improve in these other areas, these other categories where they were coming up short, they were deficient. And eventually this person, because they were praised for that one little thing that they were doing well, they started to level up with all these other things that all their shortcomings, and became just better overall in all these other areas. So the moral of the story is, praise people for what you see them doing well, and really let them know that's fantastic. You crush this. You do so great with this. And then they'll be much more open to those other critiques or criticisms that you have, as long as you deliver it properly. Oh, but I think you could do this a little bit differently, or this a little bit differently. And absolutely, I think that they'll be more willing to give you more of themselves, and their impact or their performance will absolutely improve. So those were 6 of my big takeaways from this book. Again, how to win friends and influence people. And I highly recommend you read that book. Maybe I'll drop a description down below. I think I first did it as an audiobook, so that's a great way to digest amazing books out there in the world, is just get it on your phone, get it on Audible, and Bluetooth it in your car, and man, you can get through great books in a matter of a week or two, just driving to work and home. And that's what I've been doing. So I probably read about 6 actual books a year, but I probably end up listening to a good 10 to 15 books a year, just driving to and from work. That's it. And it's just great. And if you find a book that you absolutely love, like this, go back to it every now and again. You'll be glad you did, because there'll be things that you pick up that you forgot about, or that you didn't pick up the first time that you read it. And then do yourself a favor, like you see here, I got this paper, write up like a little review for yourself and then save it. Because this is a book that I read, months and months and months ago, but as soon as I looked at my quick book review, my takeaways, it's like I remember the whole book. It all comes back to me, all these little stories and great insights about the book. So it's almost like your own personal cliff notes. So I highly recommend that. Coach Chris here at the Critical Bench Compound, giving you a book review, one of my favorites. And we'll see you in the next one. I'll be doing more of these. Thanks for watching.